Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining today's Jira training session. Today, I'm going to be walking you through the process of how you start your sprint. Before we start, remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with the rest of your friends and colleagues that might find this useful. Right now, I'm already in one of my projects. The two things you need to always remember when it comes to starting a sprint. When you're starting a sprint, that gives you an idea that you're starting, your project is set up to be a Scrum project. You cannot start a sprint with a Kanban because they're two separate things. Yeah. So this project you're looking at on my screen is a Kanban project. So I would not be able to start a sprint in this. So I'm going to be looking for any other project that is set up to be a Scrum project, and then I can show you how to start your sprint. So for you to search for your project in my subsequent videos, I probably would have talked about how to look for your project, how to have your project set up, and the difference between the Scrum and the Kanban board. So right now, I'm just going to be choosing my Scrum project. And then I'm going into my backlog. So you can see right now, this is my active sprint, and I don't have anything in there because I haven't started any sprint. What I have in this project is just a list of items or tickets that have been created, and it's just in the backlog to be looked at, prioritized, and then, when we're ready to start, we then start the sprint. So when you go to the backlog for your Scrum project, you would have the list of all the items that you're planning to prioritize within your teams when you're having your Scrum meetings, and then the items are going to be prioritized, and then you move them into the sprint. In most organizations, they do 2 weeks iteration. Some would do 3, completely entirely up to the company or how your team is set up. In this training, I'm going to be doing a 2 weeks iteration. So for you to start your sprint, pointers, you need, not every single team members would be able to start a sprint. For you to be able to start a sprint, you need to be your project administrator. Okay, for you to know if you're a project administrator, if you can see at the bottom of my left-hand side where I'm hovering over, if you can see project setting, that's a pointer that you are a project administrator. So you probably would be able to start a sprint on behalf of the team. What we do recommend when it comes to administrators to projects is most likely your Scrum Masters and product owners would be administrators or would have the ability to be able to help you manage your board in terms of your sprint, starting your sprint, stopping your sprint, and stuff like that. So your Scrum Masters and product owners would have the permission to be able to do this. If you want other people or team members within your team to also have the ability to be able to do this, then you would need to give them the administrator, right? So that they set them up as the administrator as a role, so that they then have the permission to be able to help you manage this going forward. Okay. So right now I've got a few items in my backlog and it's already been prioritized, and now I'm about to start my sprint. So what you do is you move. When you click on it, you can click and just drag into the box at the top here where it says plan your sprint. Yeah, so you can see as I move and drag, it goes up into that box for items that I'm ready to prioritize, ready to start my sprint. So I'm literally going to move, drag and drop. So these are the 3 items that I want to go into the next 2 weeks of my sprint. And then I'm going to start my sprint. You can see the minute I dragged and dropped the items in there, you can see the starter sprint. It's now enabled, yeah? If after dragging and dropping into that box, you still do not see, you see this grayed out, that's another pointer for you to let you know that you do not have the permission to start a sprint, okay? So you might want to reach out to your Scrum Masters or whoever your project administrator is to help you look at that. So now that I have all the items ready to start my sprint, then I can click on start my sprint. And then you get another pop-up come up. And then this is where you define what's the duration. Is it a 2-week sprint? Is it a 3-week sprint? Is it a 4-week sprint? Depending on how your organization is structured. So you name your sprint, give it the name that you want to call it. So I can just, this is called this. And then you specify what, your iteration. Is it going to be 2 weeks, 1 week? Choose what you want for the purpose of this. I'm going to be sticking to 2 weeks. And then by default, it takes the start date as the day in which you're creating the sprint. You're starting your sprint. So you can see by default, this is already populated. In terms of the end dates, you probably would not need to put in anything there because you specified you wanted 2 weeks and you've said when your start date is. By default, it would automatically populate the end date by calculating your start date and then work its way through to 2 weeks. And then once it's done, the sprint's done. So you can put in your sprint goal. What are you trying to deliver in this? If you want to, you can leave it blank. If you want to, it's entirely up to how your team is structured. Ideally, I would say put in a brief description of what it is you're trying to deliver in that sprint. So other people that are coming to your project can understand and see that, oh yes, this sprint is for delivering or achieving, whatever it is that you're trying to, what the goal is for that sprint. Yeah. And then you can just click on your starter sprint. And then it automatically takes you to your active sprint. And then now you can see the active sprint. It's got the 3 items within the 3 columns that I have. Everything is set to do because that's the starting point of your workflow. And then you can then move things along the line. In my subsequent videos, I've talked about how to define your columns. Your columns are the boxes you can see to do, in progress, and done is what I have in my column, but you can customize and have as many columns as you want, ready for QA, production, done, verified, depending on, how your team is structured. You can further define your columns if you want to. And in my subsequent videos, I've talked about how to do that for your team. So now my sprint is started and my team members can then go in and start assigning stuff to themselves and then moving things across the line for us to start and complete in the next 2 weeks. So that's it. So that's how you start your sprint. Once all your 2-week sprint is done and all your tickets has been moved to done, the complete sprint button, which you can see at the top here, is then enlightened again in a very, very, I think, blue color as well. And then you can click on complete sprint to show that, yes, we've completed the sprint. We said we were going to deliver this, and this has now been delivered. And then you can click on your complete sprint, and then that would register. So once you then go into your reporting side of things, you can then see what happened throughout the 2 weeks iteration. Were you able to, what's the story pointing? Did you deliver things according to what we said we would deliver? Did you add or remove anything within the sprint? You can then view all those in your, your velocities and stuff like that in the reporting section for that sprint. And all that would then be enabled as you start your sprint. So thank you for staying tuned to the end of the session, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my next video. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, now is the time to do so. Like and share the videos with the rest of your friends and colleagues. Thank you once again for joining today's Jira training session, and I'll see you in my next video.